In London, they team up with a businessman and buy this cinema. They name it The Gate. Their policy is to discover and then screen the best new independent and alternative films from all around the world. They show films that would normally not get dubbed nor find a wider audience. Barbara and David also formed a company called Cinegate that would distribute these independent films. So, it's 1974, the UK has joined the common market, and you've purchased your 60 pence ticket. What's the first film you will see at the recently opened Gate? Fear Eats the Soul by Rainer Werner Fassbinder. A poignant love story with a raw edge, as a middle-aged woman falls in love with and marries a younger man who has come to Germany from Morocco. This film and those shown in the following years made The Gate a box office and critical success. The repertoire included Derek Jarman's debut film, Sebastian. At its screening in 1974 was one Nigel Andrews. He was just starting out on his career as the film critic of the Financial Times. Let us bring Nigel to the stage and invite him to share some of his memories of The Gate and the couple who ran it. Thank you, Nigel.
Yes, it was a transforming moment when David and Barbara Stone took over this cinema and then found other cinemas to show their films in. Fear Eats the Soul introduced Fassbinder. They showed other films from New German cinema, and it became a kind of centre for showing innovative art movies from Europe and around the world. But more than that, they were people who were very hands-on and hard-working in terms of persuading critics to see the films before they had a proper press show. They were very good at introducing critics to filmmakers. I remember they had a wonderful, large kind of neo-Victorian Gothic, as I remember, in Lux House in Phillimore Place, if I have the name right. And one of the first times, if not the first time I was invited there, they'd brought a filmmaker over from America who I had not heard of. Young guy, shortish guy, had a bit of an asthma, funnily enough, talking of Robert Donat, had a bit of an asthma problem. Very fast talking, very enthusiastic, and he was telling us, because there were other people than me there, that he had this idea for a new movie he was going to make about a troubled taxi driver in New York, starring an unknown actor called Robert De Niro. And so finally we realized this was an up-and-coming filmmaker who had made a marvelous film called Mean Streets, actually, with De Niro. But that was typical of the kind of people you would be invited to Phillimore Place to meet. Bertolucci was there on another occasion, and it was a kind of salon for independent filmmakers from around the world. And they were wonderful hosts. David was very fast-talking and wouldn't let you go until he persuaded you of his argument, but was also kind of funny and sort of warm-hearted as well. Barbara, was really quite a star in terms of British film distribution, at least. She could be tough, sassy, and very Brooklyn at one extreme, and kind of relaxed and serene and glamorous in a family environment as a kind of young mother figure. You'd have to imagine a kind of cross between television's Judge Judy, if you know her, at one end, and Isabella Rossellini at another, because she had been a model and she was very striking looking. Later on, they introduced some more controversial movies, one of which was Derek Jarman's Sebastian, and Empire of the Senses, the Japanese film. And again, they showed the film early to one or two critics in order to get some heat behind the campaign to persuade the censor that he didn't need to cut these films or ban them. Curiously enough, the last time that I met David and Barbara Stone together, I invited them round to BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, for lunch because I wanted to interview them and get words from them on a book I was writing about, of all people, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because one of the first films they opened was Pumping Iron, at a time when Arnold Schwarzenegger was unheard of by anyone except people in the bodybuilding world. It was before Conan the Barbarian and the Terminator. And they told me a lot of kind of nice stories about how they'd had Arnold over, hosted him around London, when, as I say, he was still nothing but a young sort of ex-Austrian bodybuilder. And I remember couple of the things they told me. For the Stones, Arnold was a high-performance charm machine. He did everything he was asked in terms of meeting the press and posing for publicity photos. He had a real serious personal drive about him, says David. He said, "I'm going to be bigger than Sylvester Stallone," which at that time was considered impossible, since Stallone was the kind of mega film star that Arnold did later become. In the meantime, the bodybuilding machine needed fuel. David would go jogging with him every morning around Hyde Park and Kensington Gardens, after which they would stop off for breakfast at the Royal Lancaster Hotel. He'd have a dozen scrambled eggs, remembers Stone. So bacon, ham, toast, a steak. And then David and Barbara would have him over to their flat. Arnold was staying around the corner from them in Kensington, where a large bowl of fruit had been put out for the general delectation of guests. It was gone in an hour, says Barbara. I don't think anyone else ever touched they were wonderful days, and I can say, and I'm happy to say it in front of Jordan and Alexandra Stone, their children who are here, that they were a unique couple in terms of the pizzazz they brought to distribution and exhibition. And they took critics out occasionally to dinner at Joe Allen's, and they were memorable occasions, and they would kind of do their spiel about what films they were going to opening and what kind of filmmakers they were going to bring over. But they did it with such sort of dash and good-heartedness and friendliness that their days I miss. I mean, they were in my early days as a film critic, and since then, frankly, no one has come over from any part of the world, even America, with quite their panache and commitment to promoting movies.